I saw something this morning on the way here to the flower shop that actually got my attention, and of course it. Let me turn my car off. It got my attention, and of course it piqued my interest. And what I saw, what I saw en route to the flower shop was a squirrel that had died in the street. And of course, I'm human, you know. As a matter of fact, I'm a human with a heart. You've got humans that don't have hearts, and nothing affects them. Nothing gets to them, But I'm a human with a heart. Um, so of course, when I saw this poor little squirrel that had died in the street and didn't make it to the other side, I looked at it and I said, "Oh wow, he didn't make it." I said, "Oh wow." I had to put my window up. I've got some outside interference. People are getting into their cars. But when I saw this squirrel, the human heart in me looked at that squirrel who didn't make it, and I said, "Oh wow, he didn't make it." And immediately the Spirit of God began to speak to me, and God began to minister to me. And I heard the Lord say, "Do you want to know why he didn't make it?" Is everybody there? Can you all hear me? Type in a number one if you're still there. Uh, the Lord said to me, He said, "Do you want to know why he didn't make it?" And I said to the Lord, of course, I replied and responded by saying, "Of course, I want to know why the squirrel didn't make it." And the Lord said to me, the Lord said he did not, and get this in the Holy Ghost now. This is not for everybody. I'm not here to minister to everybody. The book of Revelation says, "He that hath ears to hear, let them hear what the Spirit said unto the church." And everybody doesn't have ears to hear. Praise the Lord, everybody. And the Lord said this to me. He says, "Here is the reason why he didn't make it. He didn't make it to the other side because he was trying to function out of his natural habitat." Have you ever tried to catch a squirrel or run after a squirrel when the squirrel is in the grass or trying to climb up a tree? It's one of the most difficult things to do. It's one of the most challenging things to do. I remember having been a little boy going to the park with my family, and I would see a squirrel and I would run after the squirrel, and I would become so frustrated and aggravated and agitated as a kid because I couldn't catch the squirrel, because the squirrel, I had no knowledge of this at the time, of course, but the squirrel was functioning within his natural habitat. One of the most difficult things to do, one of the most challenging things to do, is to try to catch a squirrel on foot when he's running up a tree or he's in the grass, because it was what he was made for. For those of you who didn't catch my scope on last night, by the way, go back and listen to the scope on last night, okay? Brief interruption. It's going to bless your spirit. If you're here today and didn't catch the scope on last night, go back and catch the scope on last night. It is going to bless your spirit. Um, but one of the most challenging things to do is to try to catch a squirrel that's functioning in his natural habitat. It's difficult. Why? Because it is what he was born to do. It was what he was born to do. It is what he was made to do. Squirrels were not made because of how their footing is. Because of how their footing, they were not made to function on concrete effectively. But they can function in the grass effectively. They can function climbing trees effectively because it was what they were born and what they were made to do. God said to me, the Lord ministered to me, God spoke to me. God said he died because he was trying to function out of his natural habitat. And in attempting to function out of his natural habitat, he was therefore unsuccessful and didn't make it to the other side. And then God dropped a bomb on me. He dropped a bomb on me. He says, you want to know why so many Christians are not making it to the other side? And when I speak in reference to the other side, I'm not talking about heaven. When I speak in reference to the other side, I'm talking about Christians who are going through their process en route to their purpose. I'm talking about Christians who are going through their dilemma en route to their divine design. When I speak in reference to the other side, I'm not talking about going to heaven, but I'm talking about going through the process en route to your purpose. The Lord said to me, he says, you want to know why so many Christians are not making it to the other side in relation to divine destiny and purpose? And I said, why, God? And the Lord said this to me. He dropped a bomb on me. He says, because like the squirrel, so many of them are functioning out of their natural habitat. God got my attention. As a matter of fact, I said, Lord, how so? What do you mean they're functioning out of their natural habitat? How so? And the Lord said this to me. He said, there are so many Christians who think that they are natural beings having a spiritual experience. He says, but they're not natural beings having a spiritual experience. They are actually spiritual beings that are having a natural experience. And I said, wow, say, wait a minute, wait, God, wait, can you? I said to the Lord, I mean, me and God, we're kind of having this conversation. Are you with me? Are you with me? We're having this conversation. And I said to the Lord, I said, God, wait a minute. We're in the midst of a deep, dialogue. I said, wait a minute, say that again. He said, so many Christians are not making it to the other side, not in reference to heaven, but making it to the other side in relation to going through the process en route to their divine promise. He said, because so many of them are functioning out of their natural habitat. So many Christians think that they are natural beings having a spiritual experience. He said, which in fact they are spiritual beings having a natural experience. The spiritual ought to be so natural for you until the natural becomes abnormal to you. The spiritual ought to be so natural for you until the natural becomes unfamiliar to you. And the Lord said this to me. He said, son, think about it. And I want you to drop this on the people this morning. I want you to drop this on the people this morning. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. One of my favorite verses in the Holy Writ. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6 says this. It says, my people are being destroyed, not because of a lack of finances, not because of a lack of resources, not because of a lack of power, not because of a lack of influence and affluence, not because of a lack of prestige and popularity. He says, but my people are being destroyed. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. And they're being destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. And the Lord said this to me. He says, I want you to drop this on the people. He says, tell them that I said they were born into the natural, but they were not born out of the natural. And I said to the Lord, I said, God, wait a minute. I said, say that again, say that again. And the Lord repeated it. He said, tell them that I said they were not born out of the natural. Tell them they were born into the natural, but they were born out of the spiritual. You were born out of the spirit, but you were born into the natural. See, some of you all think that you were born out of the natural. You were not born out of the natural. Watch the play on words now. You were not born, here it is, out of the natural. You were born into the natural, but you were born out of the spirit. Jeremiah chapter 1, right about verse 5, God says to the prophet Jeremiah, he says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and ordained thee as a prophet unto the nations. Get this in the Holy Ghost now. He says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Your mother and your father had to come to know you. But God says, I already knew you. You got to get this. It's a life changer. It's a life changer. It's a life changer because I'm trying to tell you why so many Christians are failing at entering into their divine design or entering into the promise that God has purposed for them. He says your mother and father had to come to know you, but God says I already knew you before. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. Read it. It's in the text. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I'm not making this up. He says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. I knew thee. I knew thee. I didn't have to come to know thee. I knew thee. Knew is past tense. Know is present tense. Your mother and father had to come to know you. That's present tense. God says, I already knew you. That's past tense, which means you were born into the natural, but you were actually born out of the spiritual. You were born out of the spiritual into the natural. We are not natural beings having a spiritual experience. We are actually spiritual beings having a natural experience. The spiritual ought to be so natural for you until the natural becomes abnormal to you. The spiritual ought to be so natural for you until the natural becomes unfamiliar to you. But see, for many of us, it's vice versa. Vice versa. The natural has become so natural to you until the spiritual has become abnormal to you. That's why when things begin to happen for you, they happen for you when you are walking in what should be natural to you, which is the spiritual. When you are walking in the spiritual, things begin to happen for you. What do I mean when I say walking in the spiritual? Jesus says these words, and the gospel according to John, Jesus says, these words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. Walking by the spirit. Are you with me? Ain't nothing spooky. I'm walking by the Spirit. Ikabasiyama. No, 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 no. Walking by, no, that ain't walking by the Spirit. That's speaking in tongues. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Walking by the Spirit is walking by the Word of God. There's nothing scary about walking by the Spirit. There's nothing ooh about walking by the Spirit. There's nothing spooky about walking by the Spirit. Walking by the Spirit is walking by the Word of God. Jesus says in the Gospel according to John, he says, these words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. When I am walking by the Spirit, things begin to happen for me. Why? Because it was what I was born to do. You can't walk by the natural and expect things to happen for you. But yet, that's what so many of us are doing, and we're failing. We're walking by the natural, expecting things to happen for us. Walking by the natural. Blessings to you. Somebody says such revelation. Blessings to you. I appreciate you, Lady Wyatt. When you walk by the natural, things are not going to happen for you. It is when you walk by the Spirit that things begin to happen for you. God says many of us are failing because we're just like that squirrel. We're trying to function out of our habitat. The squirrel died because he was trying to function out of his habitat. He didn't make it to the other side because he was trying to function out of his habitat. He was trying to run on the concrete as opposed to running in the grass. Had he stayed in the grass, he would have stayed in his safe haven. Functioning in the Spirit is your natural habitat. And when you try to function outside of it, that's when you don't make it. That's when you don't get to the other side. That's when you don't see what you were born for. That's when the promises of God don't manifest. When you try to function out of the Spirit, which is a natural habitat. Listen, I said all of that to say this. What is the whole ideology of what I'm trying to get to? I said all of that to say this. The spiritual is your natural habitat. God says, I want what's spiritual to become so normal for you until the normal becomes abnormal. Get off of the concrete. Get into the grass. Stop walking in the natural. Start walking in the spiritual. And watch things just start breaking for you. Watch things start coming together for you. Watch things start coming for you. Watch things start happening for you. Watch doors begin to open for you. These words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. When I saw the squirrel who had died on the concrete, God gave me a revelation. He said he didn't make it to the other side because he was trying to function out of his natural habitat. Many of us are not making it to the other side because we're trying to function out of our natural habitat. What's natural for you? The spiritual is natural for you. You were born into the world. You were born into the natural, but you were born out of the spiritual. If you're just catching it and you didn't get it all, catch it from the beginning and it'll make sense to you. I'm out of here. Love you all now. Blessings to you. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Bye-bye.